We'll go ahead and lawnmowers, man. We'll get started. So I'm going to share my screen with my command dashboard. So what I want, first of all, thank you guys for being on here. This makes me really, really happy to have this many attendees. So obviously an important subject. So what I want to cover today is how your opportunities should look so that it's ready to go so you get paid, how you get commissions filled out and submitted, and what to do in certain scenarios. Like, what if the deal falls through? What if I have an outside referral? What if I'm paying another agent in our office some of it? So if you have questions, let me know. I'm hoping to get all the questions answered, but if I don't, feel free to ask me so that I can cover it. Ultimately, there are going to be situations where there are one-offs, and well, this is kind of a weird deal because I'm paying X amount of dollars to this person, so those will still happen, but this is just a general overview of what needs to be done so that you're ready to rock and roll. And I don't have great access. I'm not good at multitasking and looking at the chat while I'm talking. So if you have a question, please unmute yourself and ask it. Otherwise, I'll probably miss it until the end. So, alrighty. So first things first, you logging into command, you're gonna start in opportunities. And I should have backed up just one spot. So it's really important the phase in which the opportunity is in when you're to the point of closing. So this has happened a handful of times, and I really don't love this feature about command, but when your opportunity is in the cultivate, appointment, or closed phase, I cannot see it or find it. Why KWRI has it set up that way, I don't know. It drives me a little crazy. So in order for me to be able to find your opportunity and not accuse you of not submitting one, it needs to be in the active or under contract bucket. That's like the biggest thing. Usually it's hiding, and it makes sense to drag it over to closed when it closes, but you don't want to do that until you actually see your payment come through in direct deposit. That's how you know that it's been done, obviously. So I had one example I was going to use. I'm going to go into my buyer. So here this is how you can drag them. You just click on them, drag and drop into the different stages. And if you wanted, if you're not creating an opportunity until you have an accepted offer, which is a little late in the game, but it's okay, you can actually create the opportunity in the active phase immediately. You can skip the cultivate, you can skip the appointment. It all depends on when you're putting that client into command. So I'm going to go in here. On this details page, this is where you want to put in the property information. So if it's your listing, you're going to find your listing in here. If it's the property you're working with a buyer, you're going to find that address that they wrote the offer on. I'm just going to use my house so you guys can all stalk me now. So that's the property. It autofills. You just hit save. So now you'll see all the property information here. So a lot of times when you're filling out commissions, it'll say you need to link a listing. And people are like, what are you talking about? Like, I already have it in a million places. This is where they want that information to be. So whenever you submit commissions, make sure you've got a property tied to it.
Abbie,
yes?
it has gotten now where you can't do anything in commissions until you have that property in there.
Well, good. You used to be able to select the property while you're in the commission tab. Mm-hmm. But it's best to just do it right away. It completes your detail page. So I have very little information in here because of training, but yes, that's a good point. So then in the documents part, this is just a quick compliance update. So this is a buyer opportunity. So I don't have a listing folder. I only have the under contract offer folder. So I still need to upload all my contracts and submit them and have them approved. So if it says open right here, that means it has not been submitted. And even if you fill out commissions and that's been approved, we still need there to be a green box that says approved next to this folder. And you'll know if it's submitted because it'll say submitted next to it. There has been some instances, I think specifically with Sarah Dreyer and her team. I don't know if anybody else has had it, but where it's being submitted, it's approved by Cindy, and then when I go to do commissions, it's in the unsubmitted status again. Like it's a glitch of some sort, so keep your eye out for that. So I like to say, you know, when you're prepping to go to closing, check over your opportunity, make sure it's submitted and approved, check that you've got your commissions filled out, and make sure that they have the right commission going to you on your preliminary closing statement.
Abbie, I have a question. One of my mentees was asking me about submitting. I have Lynn do all of this, so if I'm asking a newbie question, I'm sorry, but when there's things in here that they don't get till almost the end of closing, like a loan commitment and stuff like that, can they still submit it without that stuff and still do the commission without having those kind of things in there?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the best time, you can submit as you add one document. It's different. .loop, you needed to have everything before you could submit. Cindy doesn't necessarily want you to submit one by one. That will give her a lot of notifications, but the best time to upload as much as you can is once you get that home inspection report. That's a good cue to submit your folder because you've got the offer, you've got some amendments, if any, you've got the MLS data sheet. Most of the stuff is there. You may have the earnest money, hopefully. And then you can always go in and add more and submit again. So usually home inspection report time is a great time to submit your entire opportunity for review.
Okay, and then you can do your commissions without some of that though, right?
Yep. Commissions is not contingent on what you have in your opportunity or submitted. In order to get to commissions, you have to put in the terms of the accepted offer here. So you'll see that this is idled out right now because I don't have the terms added. And if you hover over this tooltip, it'll say you'll be able to view your commission when you have an accepted offer. So I'm gonna go into the offer tab. I'm gonna take whatever offer was my accepted one. This Zoom, I always gotta move it around. So I'm gonna
Whenever you have a second, I do have a question, Abbie.
Yeah, go for it.
So when you're entering this offer, how important is all that information to you guys? Is it really just for the agents to kind of compare contrast offers? Because some of it is a little like you'd have to go into the offer to purchase to pull those numbers.
Right.
And so I was wondering, like, you know, can we just somewhat bypass some of those questions? We can't bypass them, but how correct it would have to be.
Yeah, that's a good point because the more specific you are has to do with if you're going to generate a comparison. Say if you get 5 offers, you can put all of them in here, generate a comparison for that, for that listing, if it was your listing, and say, here's all the offers, here's a comparison. Most agents will already have some sort of spreadsheet or comparison factor outside of command that they're using, or things are so quick nowadays, you don't really necessarily have time to do all that. So the data in here is not super important to us. Now, there's certain things that you'll want to make sure are accurate, like the close date. So I'll go through and submit one right now, but yeah, there's stuff in there that we don't use too.
Yep. Like I think the one is like how much cash are they bringing to or for down payment?
Right.
So yeah.
So I'm going to grab my property here for the accepted offer. Move on to parties. So buyer's name, I'll be the buyer. We'll say the seller's name is Scott. And again, this is not all mandatory information, so I'm just going to skip it for now. Representation, I'm representing myself, and we'll have Scott represent himself as well. So this would be the listing agent. Other side would be the buyer agent information.
So do we use any of that information as the market center? Do they collect like that co-broke information?
You know, I haven't gotten there is a spot to add the co-broke in commissions. I don't know where that generates, or that we're not using it in that way right now. So co-broke information in commissions at this point is not important.
Okay.
We've developed a system outside in Google Drive with the ELT on how we do that. I just take it from the addendum A.
Yeah. Okay.
A lot of work, but I don't know what command offers yet. So for now, co-broke is not important.
Okay, awesome.
So let's say I'm bringing 200,000 in cash and I'm financing 150. So the sale price of the home is 350. Earnest money percentage, again, this isn't even mandatory, but you can put in how much earnest money was put down. Option fee, these are is an example of what we don't have in this area. Obviously command is for Keller Williams International worldwide, so they have option fees in other states, so we don't have to worry about that. Agent analysis, so this is where you're putting in the pros and cons of the property and the summary, and this really has a lot to do with if you're going to do a comparison for your clients. Again, I don't know that most people are using that for that feature, but it's definitely something you could do. So I've got all the important information from the offer. I'm going to save it, and you'll see the little summary here. The offer, how much I'm bringing in cash, or so that is the biggest thing, is that the sale price adds up to that. So if you entered several offers, you would see them all listed here, and you could scroll down. We're going to go ahead and say this was the winning one. And now you'll see that commissions is ready to rock and roll. So let's say you need to make a change to this. You can either change the response, which would make it unaccepted, which you can easily accept again, or you can click on these little dots and, oops, I'll come back to this part, but you can actually send this to an email as well. So if you wanted to do the comparison, you could send it through command essentially. All right, got my terms for the offer in there. I hit accept. Now commissions is up and ready for me to generate. So the information that I filled out in the terms of the offer is now pulled into here. So let's say this close date is not right. Let's go in here first. So I just clicked on edit general information. We've got sale price, commission rate, units, and then contract date. So contract date is going to be the date of the signed accepted offer. And then let's say you actually have a 2% commission. And I'll show you where this percentage came through as well. So let's say it's really supposed to be 2%. You can change that. Or, oops, if you have a flat amount, say some properties, you're just getting a flat $2,500 for the deal, you can just type it in and then the percentage will fill in on its own. Oh, that's why it popped up. So I'm gonna save this for now. That, this information here and the percentage was pulling from the details page. So when I filled out the original details of this opportunity, that's where it came up with my 2.4% and the close date. So let's say it's actually supposed to be the 21st. Now, all of these edits are possible before it's imported into our system. So this all changes if this stuff changes after the fact. I'll get into that later. But before it's been submitted, you can go around and play with this. So I'm going to go back to commissions. I might have to refresh and see. So if I want to change that to the 8/21, I have to actually go back into this offer, change the response, click on these little dots. You can edit that offer and then change that closing date. Save. And then I'll re-accept this. So you can't actually change the response to this offer once it's imported again. And I'll show you what imported means. So now we've got that and commissions is back open and I have that date reflected. So general information is probably going to autofill to be correct based on the terms of your offer. The actual agent breakdown is where most mistakes take place. So does anyone have questions up to this point? Am I going too fast? Are we doing okay? Cool. All right, so agent breakdown. So there's a lot of different scenarios as far as the breakdown goes. So I'll go through a couple of them. First one being I'm the only agent on this deal and I don't have any other splits with a team member or the launch coaching splits, anything like that. So it reflects that I'm getting the entire unit. My gross commission is this, and then it shows my net and all that. So all of this is generated based on what we have in our Winmore system, which is our internal system that Michelle and I use for processing commissions and adding people to KW and all kinds of stuff. So none of this is editable by the agent. It's all pulls in. So now it actually is showing that 80-20 split if you were staying on that 80-20. So that finally updated. And then it tells you how much royalty is coming out in a dollar amount, how much company dollar, and then your net payment. So let's say that I am collecting a buyer agency on here. So I've got my gross commission there. That's a terrible commission for that sale price, by the way. $2,500, yikes. So let's say I charged a $295 buyer agency for this as well. So what I'm gonna do is scroll to the bottom and click on add item. And you'll see there's a couple examples, referrals, bonuses, deductions. Click on that and see the different options. Bonus, and let's do $295. And then you'll see this option to split with the market center. So this is where it gets confusing for a lot of people. So buyer agencies are considered additional commission and they are subject to full company splits. So that means 20% company dollar comes out and the 6% royalty. Now, if it's a BAC bonus, meaning you have a listing and you charge that $295 BAC to your seller, that does not have company dollar come out of it. And it's very difficult to keep these straight. So those are the two things I suggest making a note of. And if you fill it out wrong in here, our system knows that. So, you know, it's not terribly a big deal whether you select take splits or not, but the difference in that is buyer agency is considered additional commission. Danielle, did you have a question?
Yeah, so if on a listing, if we charge like $795 instead of $295, same thing?
That's a great
part
question.
of it counts as BAC and the other part doesn't, or?
Yep, so no matter what, we only take $295. So let's say this was a listing and you charge $795. you are still gonna only put $295 of that in the bonus line and leave this off because we're not taking 20% company dollar out of that. Now, the extra $500 in commission of the other part of that $795 is actually getting added into your gross amount. So this would actually be $29.85. Does that make sense? Because the $500 difference of that $795 is considered additional commission. And that's subject to the 20% and the 6%. Does that make sense for everybody? That is probably the hardest thing to wrap your brain around.
My quick question was just the way that you added the 500. So I would have just gone in and added it as another item instead of just adjusting the gross commission. So would that be okay?
It would, but if they are uncapped, their bottom line payment is going to be off, because when you do, you know, like it's kind of like green sheets. You know, if you put it and you mark not, or that they're capped when they're not, the bottom line won't match up.
Yep.
So now most people just put all of it in the bonus and call it a day, and it's paid out correctly. It's just, it probably doesn't match what command says they're getting paid. So if you're a team admin, you know, if your agents are particular about matching it with what they're expecting and they go into command and say, I'm expecting to get that amount, you'll want to make sure it's done correctly.
Okay, that makes sense.
It doesn't make a difference because no splits are coming out. So if Tony's capped and he charges $595, you can put that whole $595 in the bonus line and nothing will come out, so it doesn't make a difference.
Okay.
And I kind of want to create like a visual for this too, like just a cheat sheet that I can send out to the group, because this is a lot to remember over verbal. And, you know, it took me forever to figure out how to even explain it. And I know I worked with Lynn Varesi a lot on this and explaining, okay, now this part gets added in, and it's just to make sure that it evens out and shows a proper commission amount for the agent. Either way, our system will process it properly, but, you know, the high Cs are going to want to see the, you know, the right amount that they expect to get paid.
Oh, yeah.
So let's say I also have the $295 BAC. So that's the listing fee that comes out for all listings. So maybe I did collect it here in the bonus line. So I have it here. I'm going to go back to this normal amount. So I have a listing. I charge them a terrible commission, apparently, plus $295. And so my bonus is now there. I collected that. The seller paid it. Now I also need to reflect it in the deductions because the Market Center does take that. So it's like a wash. So same thing. I'm going to go to add item, deduction, $295, EAC, listing fee, whatever. I'm trying to work on a way to get this to autofill so you don't have to fill in all of these things every time. If there was a way for our Market Center to set defaults so that, like on green sheets, it would automatically just be there and you could delete it if it wasn't a listing. You know, it's stuff like that. I don't know if it bothers you guys to have to type this in, but
Abbie, mine more or less does a drop down now.
Like the Google Chrome remembers it, yeah.
Yeah, the only thing it doesn't do a drop down for is the phone number.
Yeah, which again, I hate that some of these are required fields because honestly, it doesn't matter what phone number you put in here. It's not anything that we use as far as.
There's something goofy about that field that it won't allow a drop down either.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I just put in CJ's phone number always.
Yeah. The only thing important to me is that I see the amount and what it's for. So if I know that it's TC is for transaction coordination, or you can type it out, transaction management, I'll know what it's for. The rest of this really is not a big deal because we have it saved in our system who we pay that money to, where the address is and all that. So biggest things here are description and the amount. So now you'll see that reflected down here, and I'll hit save. So now I can see my new net. I've got my BAC deduction coming out. And on the upper right, you can see the summary, a little condensed version of this. So I can look at this and say, okay, total commission $24.85. I collected the BAC from the seller. This is how much royalties coming out, how much company dollar. So maybe you're tracking your company dollar on how close you are to capping. This would be what you can put into your spreadsheet as what I'm contributing. Agents getting paid, I'm the only one on this deal, so it's only my name. And then my BAC deduction is here. Another nice little feature is this add a note. And there are a few agents that add notes for me consistently, which are awesome. Not necessary, but I know that, for example, Scott's team, Lifetime Realty Group, had a lot of wonky stuff with their splits, and it's not always the same. So Katie Pacheco would nicely type in the splits and say, you know, 50% Mark, 25 Scott, 25 Jeremy. Not necessary. I can see that on the left, but it's just another touch base. I'm not asking you to do that, but stuff that could go in there would just be another note of outside referral, or anything that's a little different. Maybe Tony to pay home warranty out of his commission. Then I know, okay, this check is short $495. Oh, okay, that's why, because Tony's paying that. There's a lot of times that agents will agree to, reduce their commission or pay for home warranty, and it's not noted anywhere because it's kind of a last minute thing at closing, maybe. And I'm always really cautious about making sure that we're not underpaid or overpaid. So the more that I can see that and maybe see an amendment or something is very helpful. The verbal agreements, I'm not psychic enough to know that those happen, but anything I can do to not have to go back and revise, I try to fix ahead of time. So, but it happens, I get it. Okay, so that's an individual agent payment. So what I wanna do next is working with teams. So let's go in here. I'm gonna change this commission back to 2.4%. Okay, so Danielle, I see your face, so I'm going to use you as my teammate. And let's say you are my rainmaker and I owe you 50% of every deal. So the rule of thumb is that these units have to equal 1. So somehow this 1 unit is getting distributed amongst 1, 2, or 5 people. So what I need to do is go in and edit my own agent payment. If I'm paying Danielle 50% as my team split, I'll type in 0.5. And then I can hit this handy dandy calculate commission button, which they didn't used to have. You used to have to do it on your own and calculate it. And that will change it to a different amount for me to collect. I'm gonna remove this for now because I'm gonna come back to that. So I've got half of the unit, there's my amount, all of this adjusts, and I'm gonna hit save. And now it's gonna tell me over here that I still have half a unit to pay out and I still have $4,200 to pay out. So that's telling me I'm off balance and that I need to add somebody else to get paid. So I'm gonna click on add another agent. And here is where you can type in. Everyone in our market center will appear as you type in their name. So I found Danielle. It filled in this for me. And I'll hit save changes on that. So now both of those error things went away because now we have the entire 8,400 being paid out and the entire unit is distributed. Any questions on the splitting? Now, sometimes they are picky about how many decimal places you can go. So I believe you can do 2 decimal places. So if I change this to 0.25, I think Scott's team was trying to do 3 decimal places, and it doesn't pull in properly, at least for a certain amount of time. So who else wants 25%? Shelly, I see your face too. So I'm gonna, well, I don't know if you can get paid. Never mind. Melissa, yeah. Oh, maybe you can. Okay, admins are in here too.
Interesting.
I mean, I thought you'd only show up if you're licensed, and I'm like, oh, well. So now I've got 25% to me, 25% to Melissa, and 50% to Danielle. So let's say that was our team. I distributed that, and this could also be an example for the launch program. So if you are in that program, you are paying 7% to your launch coach, which is Kathy Whitaker. So you do 0.07. That's 7%, and then 0.07 to your transaction mentor. So it's important to make sure that those are being included as well.
Abbie,
right.
I have a question that might complicate this. What if you have like a 595 BAC that's being
coming
collected?
up next. Yeah.
Okay.
So this is the clean way of just splitting with a team, no bonuses, no deductions, nothing. Now,
Okay.
to Lynn's point, this is where most inconsistencies happen as well, is when you have, let's say for this deal, I'm collecting the 295 BAC. It's my listing, but I owe money to Danielle because she's my rainmaker. So it's important to make note of how that 295 is being split. I'm not going to assume that I'm just paying it all or Danielle pays it all. In all honesty, Michelle and myself, and now Allison is also learning commissions. We don't look at the team agreements to confirm the splits. So whatever's inputted is how we pay it out. So for the sake of me not having to do a lot of math, I'm gonna take Melissa off of here and not split that 295 a few ways. Sorry, Melissa. All right, so 295 is being collected. So let's say that is split just like our team split in half. So I'm gonna go into my card. I'm gonna add item. First, I'm gonna add in the bonus part because the seller agreed to pay it. So bonus, I'm only collecting half because I'm splitting it with Danielle. So I'm gonna put in 147.50. And then on the flip side, I'm also gonna add that deduction for the BAC. So I collected it and the market center takes it. Whoops. Does that make sense as far as why it goes in bonus and deduction for everybody? Pretty much. And like I said, if you forget to put it in the deduction, it will still be taken out anyway. But it will probably involve an email or a phone call of me asking, are you splitting this with your teammate or are you paying all of this or what's the, because commissions won't tell me. Okay. So now you can see that it shows that Abbie is keeping 147.50 and then it's being deducted on the bottom. Now I need to go add in the same for Danielle. Do. Mine doesn't autofill, Lynn. Not giving me a drop down.
Mine does. It gives me a drop down for everything but the phone number.
All right. So now if I'm going in And processing commissions, I'm gonna look at this and say, okay, so it's a 50-50 split between Abbie and Danielle. They're splitting that BAC down the middle and they're splitting that deduction as well. So both of us have 147.50. Same goes for buyer agencies. Now, this was a buyer deal. And let's say my split is actually 60-40. Remove that. And I'm going to go Danielle, so it'll be 60. I'm just getting rid of those. So we're on a 60-40 split. And let's say that I collected $595 buyer agency. Now, I'm not going to assume as the person processing commissions that because it was Abbie's deal that she gets to keep all that. It needs to tell me in commissions how I'm distributing that $595. So for the sake of my team agreement with Danielle, I'm going to say that I only get to keep 40% of that $595 because that's our split. And all team agreements are different. So that's why it's so important to have it inputted properly. So I don't do math. So only $238 of that $595 is going to me because that's 40% and that's what our team agreement says. So I'm going to go into bonus, 238, and I am going to split this with the market center because it's a buyer agency and it's considered additional commission. I left it off for the BAC. And then Danielle's portion, 357. Go down in her area, add item, bonus. Perfect. So now when I see that $595 on the closing statement, I'll be like, okay, so how am I paying that out? I'll see, okay, well, 238 of it goes to Abbie and 357 goes to Danielle, and that matches up the entire $595. So I would say that the biggest piece left out is probably this and how the bonus gets distributed, who all gets a piece of it, who's all paying a certain deduction. That's probably the biggest part that I have a holdup on and need to reach out for clarification. So being very detailed with who's paying what and collecting what is super helpful.
Nobody could show us tomorrow during that time.
Probably not. Maybe she.
I thought I muted the right person, maybe not.
She's not even running it, so.
There we go. Sorry, Michael, I muted you. All right, so any questions on working in teams or adding an agent and being specific on splits and deductions? What? Awesome.
I don't have a question about that, but I do have a question about just timing. So a lot of times I'm finding that if closings are moved and I've already submitted the commissions, then I have to reach out to you. And I feel like that's probably kind of bothersome. And also, hopefully I remember to do it, right? So I'm just thinking, I recently started, so I submit our documents 2 times. So the first time I submit it when we get our inspection stuff like you recommended. And then the second time is when I have all the docs and, you know, the loan commitment, etc. And then at that time, at the second time, I also submit the commissions. So I'm letting it sit for longer without submitting it so I can change it.
Yeah.
Is that okay? Or should I do it?
Yeah,
soon?
and you know, there's, that's okay in this instance now because it's not bothersome. It's just the way we have to do it now as far as what command allows you to do after you've imported it. Now, the cool thing is being part of the Labs Advisor group, I get insight on what's coming and what they're testing and what they're going to be rolling out. So they are going to be changing this so that you can request a termination. So you would do that in the event that you needed to change a closing date maybe. You can request that, and then I can go in and grant that, and you can submit either a new commission. So you have the option to actually submit a new commission on that same opportunity, because right now, if transactions cancel, it's like, okay, well, do I need to make a new one? Or, you know, they don't talk to each other. So that timing is good for now, because, I mean, it's hard because I need it for projections on upcoming closings, yet it's not easy for me to pass on commissions to Michelle for a day, because she doesn't have those emails that you send me saying the closing date changes. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so if our system doesn't match command, I know why, because you emailed me and said this changed, I added an outside referral, so I go in and do that. But if Michelle is processing and doesn't see that in command, she's gonna be like, okay, well, why are these different? Which one is right? So that's what sucks about it. It's a workaround. So I think that timing is perfect when you're feeling good about closing taking place, sometimes even after inspection, depending on how, you know, likely the transaction is. If you're feeling good about it, there hasn't been a lot of hiccups after inspection is through and we know that the buyers aren't going to walk, that's a good time. It's just until we have that feature where we can submit multiple commissions on one transaction, that's kind of the best. So you're not bothering me by emailing me. It's just what we have to do.
Okay,
Yes,
Abbie. I know I had asked you the same question, and we talked about, you know, like minimum 2 to 3 weeks before closing. So what I've been doing is I really use that really helps as like a final review of the transaction as well when you're putting in those commissions. So I kind of use it as that too, just like as my double check to make sure everything.
That's a good point as well. I like that. So if I could advise any sort of implementation to a system that either admins or agents have, it's adding these couple things to their closing checklist, just like you would, all right, well, one of the last steps is doing a final walkthrough. Okay, well, before we go to closing or before closing happens, maybe you don't go to closing. I'm gonna make sure that my opportunity is ready to rock and roll. I'm gonna make sure that my preliminary closing statement that I was sent, or if you didn't get it, you request it, is reflecting the right commission, that my buyer agency is on there, that the lender and the title company know about it, and that my commissions is submitted and that it all is completed correctly. So just little steps, final check boxes to make sure that, you know, everything gets, because the last thing I want to do is, you know, be processing commissions and then realize that, well, crap, you know, this was never submitted and now I got to email or call and then I have to wait to fix it and then it delays the payment for the agent and it just sucks. So the more we can be proactive about just checking up on this, a quick little look through is going to get everyone paid faster and any clarifications made. So two other things. I know we're getting close to our time here and I want to leave time for questions. So if you have, in this instance now, until any of those new features come out, if you have a listing opportunity and the offer that you've already completed commissions, you've already submitted documents and it's been approved, it goes to crap and it cancels. That is where you can use that same opportunity, but just create a new version of the offer. So you would have a listing or a bucket here under contract. You'll just go here and do add version. So this can be for your new offer coming in. Now, that's only if it has not been imported. So imported means this looks good. I'm going to submit my commissions. KW Cares prompts comes up. That's for KW Cares International if you want to donate, totally optional. This is how you know that it's been submitted and you actually hit that submit button. It says your commission is under review. you can also see the status up here. So before it said open, and a lot of times commissions are left in open status. And I, myself, anybody on leadership does not have the ability to submit it for you. And without submitting it, we can't pull it into our system. So that's why we email you saying, hey, it's still in open status. Please hit submit. Sometimes I have people's logins. A lot of times I don't. So just make sure it's submitted. Now, if this says imported, that means we already pulled it into our system, and it basically locks down any ability to make changes. So that's where that new feature with commissions is going to come in handy, where you can request a termination and basically give you the ability to open it back up at any point, as long as the MCA hits yes. So that can't come soon enough, because basically now importing means, you know, your hands are tied and we have to do it on our end. So if you have a cancellation for a buyer, so this is a buyer opportunity. Let's say I get through this, my commissions are submitted, but it falls through. You go over to the details page, you'll mark it as a lost opportunity. So that's lost opportunity equals a camera essentially. And so if you're working with a buyer and this property dies out, you're going to create a new opportunity with a new property, new documents, and just a clean start, because then you'll have new commissions you can submit and then go from there. That's the best practice right now. Either way works, but the cleanest way is to just move those buyers into a whole nother transaction. And you can use that same buyer agency and just bring it over and stuff like that. One other thing I want to go over really quickly before questions is adding an outside referral. So I need to go into a different one now because I just submitted that one. Go into, I think I have one here. No, it's already marked referral. So for an outside referral, that means we are paying an agent that is not in our market center. So that includes if an agent is at another KW, if they are at the North Shore office, the Lake Country office, they're all separate. Right now, Germantown is still part of us, but as soon as they get their franchise approval, then they will be considered an outside referral as well. So what we need for that is in the under contract folder, there is a placeholder for the referral agreement and the W-9 from that for the people that we're going to be paying. So if we're paying a North Shore agent, we need the W-9 from Milwaukee North Shore and upload it into Command, because that tells me, Michelle or Allison, who we're cutting the check to. So those two documents need to be in there before any payment can be sent. And when you're in commissions, I'll show you where to add that. So if I'm in my breakdown, I'm going to go to edit agent payment. It's the same spot at the bottom, add item. You can scroll down to outside referral. And this is where you'll fill in the details. So I'm going to pay, oh my gosh, is this really working? Did you see that, Lynn? You can type in the percentage. So before you had to type in the flat amount and then the percentage would fill in, they must have fixed it. That's so exciting. It was so dumb. It was backwards. You would have to calculate it, type it in, and then it would fill in. Woo, that made my day.
Yeah, the last, I would say like 4 of them that I've done, I've been able to do that.
Good, then it must have been a bug and not a feature.
That could be.
That was stupid. Maybe they heard my voice when I told them, like, this is dumb.
Well, and I just kind of hit on it accidentally, so.
Yeah, I just realized that when I did this, so. Anyways, tax ID, it's going to be the EIN if we're sending it to another company. you'll put in their tax ID number, whatever is on the W-9. I just made that up. The name on the W-9, so Juniper Real Estate is North Shores, and you'll have all this based on that. The agent that we're paying, so Kevin Gardy. The address for, I don't know theirs, but the address for the company.
215 East Silver Spring.
I used to have it memorized because we used to send so much mail there when we were incubating. And then phone number, it really doesn't matter. So now if I hit save, this is where I'm gonna look when I'm processing commissions to see if there's any outside referrals. So that's where you'll add that in. Any questions on that? Sometimes people will add the outside referral under the co-broke, and that is an example of where the payment was missed. So it's confusing, and eventually we may use this feature to get co-broke information, but right now we don't have enough insight on where that all goes. So don't even bother with the co-broke payment because we don't pay the co-broke, you know, they get that at closing. So alrighty, let me just make sure I didn't miss anything that I wanted to cover. Otherwise, I want to open it up to questions that you guys have, or if you need something repeated or anything like that. Otherwise, this is recorded. So how are we feeling? Lots of information. I did a lot of talking.
So I feel like that outside referral that you just did, I don't think I knew about that. I don't think I've filled that out, and I've had referrals. So I apologize because I didn't think I realized that was there.
You know, I've also seen it where if you go to edit, add item, deduction, and people will type in outside referral.
Maybe that's where I did.
Yeah, because this is helpful too if, like, let's say I'm splitting this with Danielle. I'm paying for half the referral and so is she, but the way outside referrals work are they are taken off the gross amount prior to any team splits. So if I'm paying a 50% referral and the total gross commission for that transaction is $1,000, 500 of that is taken off before I even split the rest of that with Danielle. And that's standard. So I've had requests to only have one agent pay the referral, which, I mean, we can finagle that to happen, but it's pretty uncommon to do it that way. But it's just some manual moving of money around. But just as a standard, it comes off the top, and then whatever's left is actually distributed amongst the team splits. Same for the launch program. So let's say, see who's on there. Haley's on here. So, well, yours is not a good example because you're on a team too. But Katie Rourke is on here, and let's say she got a deal where she owes a 20% referral for the client she got, and she also owes 7% to Kathy for launch coaching and 7% to her mentor. So 20% that referral comes off the total gross before any of those launch program splits come out. So essentially everyone on that deal is contributing towards that outside referral. It just comes off the top as if it was never there. All right. Anything else, you guys? This has been really good. We're kind of on time too.
I have two quick notes. For submitting, I have found out from Cindy that, which is why she wants you to submit, like, after you have your home inspection or home inspection amendment, once you submit the first time, you don't have to hit that resubmit button because she gets a notification anytime you add a document. So yeah, the resubmit button, don't even bother with it. The other thing, and I don't know, Abby, I know you and I talked about this. I've gone to, in my dates and deadlines for submitting the commissions, to 14 days or about that prior to closing. I have it all filled out, but I don't submit it until then because there's been so many changes. Is that still a good parameter to use?
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, we always like to have projections. I do them weekly, so every Thursday I'm going in and approving commissions and putting them in our system so that I can send our list to ELT saying this is what our August is looking like. So obviously it's better to have more closings than we expected than false closings that are on there that actually terminate. So
okay, we were doing it the Thursday before, so maybe we'll back that up to the Wednesday before, so you have it on Thursday.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I'll do it all week long, but so I mean,
just to make
until
sure
we're able to make changes to commissions, you know, I'd rather it be submitted when you're feeling confident about closing.
Right.
So
each one's individual.
Yeah. Oh, yes, they are. Or outside referral sneaks in, or I agree to pay $500 or take a $500 reduction and it's not listed anywhere and stuff like that. So.
And the other issue we do need to talk to outside.
Perfect.
Okay.
All right. Anything else?
Abby, where is this video being housed so we can review it in the future?
I will probably save a copy for myself, but it will be on the YouTube channel. And I'll get you, I'm going to send like a follow-up and for those that couldn't make it, because I do want everyone to tune into it that has not been able to be on here. So I'll probably send it as an email, but it will be on our Market Center YouTube channel where we post all of our recorded stuff.
I thought that had been taken down a few weeks ago because it was too accessible to those outside of our Market Center.
It's the permissions were changed, so it's not public anymore. But it's still, it should be accessible. I will double check with Allison. I've been kind of hands off with the YouTube, but Shelley, do you know?
It is up today. Like I was able to get on today.
Okay. I don't know a lot of details about that, so I'm going to touch base with Allison, but I'll make sure that this gets shared regardless because I want people to take a look at it on their own time as well. So
I do have a quick question. When it comes to inside referrals, do we still need to add that agent to the commission? Or is it working itself out now because they're entering theirs and we're entering ours?
That's a great question, and it brings me to another point I want to share really quickly. If it's an agent in our Market Center or Germantown right now, they do get added to the commission. So let's say Katie Ninkovic is paying Kyle Risto a 20%, you know, showing thank you percentage. You would put Katie as 80%, well, minus whatever Tony gets, and Kyle at 0.2. So they do get added onto that because they're still in our office.
Okay, I was worried that it would get confused. So then what is, so
it's different if you're on different sides. So let's say, you know, Scott's team is on the listing side and Katie brings the buyers. You're only doing an opportunity for Katie and MindRight with nothing with Scott's team on it. So Scott's team will have a listing opportunity and submit their own commissions. You will have your buyer opportunity and submit your own commissions.
Okay, that's kind of where, Okay.
And right now, let's say your team itself has both sides. So Tony's the listing agent, Katie's the buyer agent. You're still doing a separate listing opportunity for Tony and a separate buying opportunity for Katie. So if you personally have both sides, it's 2 opportunities, 2 commissions.
Yep.
And they are also working on a dual agency opportunity in labs right now, which I know about, which will be nice because it's a lot of double work. But we want to make sure that you're getting the proper unit. You know, if you only do 1, then you're only going to get credit for 1 unit with production. So we want to make sure both of those units are being reflected if you do both sides. So that's why we do it that way. All right. my voice is tired, and this was awesome. I appreciate you guys being here. Hopefully you picked up on some new nuggets or got some clarification, and I appreciate your time in investing in commissions because it is very important. So
It's nice to review. Sometimes you forget things after so long, so.
well, command is forever. I'm gonna probably do this and then they'll launch a couple features tomorrow.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the beauty of command is it's constantly innovating and updating. And so it'll be a continuous conversation, but just want to make sure everybody's with the newest information. And obviously, if you ever have questions, please let me know. I'm happy to help at any time.
Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you, Abbie.
Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks.
You too.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.